Yo, what's good people, it's JayCactus, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to arrange drill beats. In my last arrangement tutorial I showed you a few different tips and techniques for making the arrangement different, but in this one it's going to be more for beginners. So I'm going to show you a go-to way for structuring your beats and how you can make subtle changes to keep the beat interesting and making it more desirable for rappers. So let's get into it. Alright, so I'm going to play you the beat that I've got here. I haven't arranged anything yet. I've just made everything in one pattern and then I'm going to split it into separate patterns and then show you how I usually structure my beats. So far I've got this. And then just another layer of keys. Right, so that's everything. I have got a separate kick pattern and a separate 8/8 pattern, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit, but for now I'm going to show you how I structure everything. So in the playlist, usually when I'm making my melodies, I'll render them to WAV files, just because you do have more flexibility with them, but the whole pattern is in here, pattern 1. So I've just clicked on that. Now I'm going to click this arrow and select split by channel, and that's going to break everything up. So I'm going to start by getting rid of that, and I'm going to bring everything in. And I've just got a habit of doing this. I just like to have everything the same length. So this is the melody that I came up with, but I'm going to get rid of that because I've already rendered it. So from here, what I'm going to do is just copy everything by pressing Control and A, Control B. I'm just going to copy that a few times just to get started. Now when you're structuring or arranging drill beats, a good go-to method is just to have an 8-bar intro, 8-bar hook, 16-bar verse, and then back to the 8-bar hook. And then it's up to you to decide like how many verses you want in the beat, and then usually like an 8-bar outro. So if you don't know what a beat is or a bar, then I'll quickly show you. So I'm just going to turn everything off but leave the metronome on. When you're making drill beats, the usual rhythm is 4/4, which means there's 4 beats per every bar. So if I play this, you can see in FL here it says 1 to 9, so that's 8 bars. And if I play it with the metronome on, it goes like this. So 1 2 3 4, 2 2 3 4, 3 2 3 4, 4 2 3 4, right? So that's 4 bars. But if you send this beat to a rapper, he's gonna count it like this. 1 2 3 4, 2 2 3 4, 3 2 3 4, 4 2 3 4. It's just the way that you position the snares and everything in drill beats. I don't really want to go into it too much, but just bear that in mind. So technically speaking, this is 8 bars, but we're going to say it's 4 bars because that's how a rapper's going to hear it. So this right here is 4 bars. This up to here would be 8 bars. So when I'm doing the intro, I usually take out all of the drums. And for the first part of the intro, I'll just have like one melody, so maybe just this one. And then the trick is to slowly build things back up until the hook. So I'm going to get rid of all of the drums here and just have these keys and these keys here. And let's see how this sounds when it drops. So the drop's hard, but the problem is if I have everything playing in that first section of the hook, then there aren't any more surprises for people. So I like to leave a couple things out in the first part of the hook and then they can come back in for the second part. So I'm going to label everything just so you know exactly what I'm talking about. So this is going to be the intro. Once you've highlighted the section that you want, just press Alt and T and then you can label it. So intro, it's just a good way to stay organized. And then this is another 8 bars. So I'm going to call this hook 1. And then we might as well copy this out that 4 times. That's going to be 16 bars, verse 1. Right, I'll leave it at that for now. And you can also see that I've got 2 kick patterns and 2 8/8 patterns. So I'm obviously not going to have everything playing at the same time. In the hook, I've got 1 8/8 pattern, and then in the verse, I've got a different pattern, but I'm going to alternate between them. So that's a good way to keep like variation in your track, just to stop it becoming too repetitive and too boring. So if there's not much change in your melody, then do it in your 8/8s and treat your 8/8 like a melodic instrument. But as I was saying, I don't want everything in the first part of the hook, and also kick pattern 1 and 8/8 pattern 1 are going to be for the hook, so I'm going to get rid of them. So for the first bit, I like how the crash happens and the siren, but I'm going to get rid of these open hats, the second hi-hat, and these keys as well, and the arp. Now let's see how this sounds. See, that to me is going to sound better because now things can come back in for the second part. So that's much better to me. And then when it comes back into the verse, because all the energy has been in the hook, you want that to come back out and then slowly build back up. And in the verse, I'm using kick pattern 2, so I can get rid of these kick patterns and these 8/8 patterns. Now let me just see how this sounds. You know what, I'm actually gonna take this siren out and I'm gonna take out some of the kicks in 8/8s. And in drill beats, I usually hear like a delay in the kick and 8/8 drop. So instead of having everything just play straight away, I'm gonna hold shift and then drag down here, and that's gonna allow me to cut in a straight line. And then I'm gonna select P to go back to the draw tool. I'm gonna get rid of the kick and the snare and the 8/8. Let me just see how this sounds. So that's all right, but I think we can make it better. So I'm gonna bring the 8/8s back a little bit. I'm gonna get rid of these hi-hats. Yeah, that's much better. So the trick is when you're like arranging things and structuring them, you wanna keep removing little parts and then creating little breaks as well. And try to imagine a rapper on it. If you can, then bring in an acapella from a different drill beat if you can find one, or just a rapper, like any acapella. And then when you hear like the emphasis on their words, that's when you want to create like little cuts. So I usually do the cuts at the beginning, like after a hook, or right at the end. So just to give you a quick example, I might cut everything here. I'll probably do this further down the line, but I'll show you what I mean. Right? So you want to make them little cuts just to keep the beat more interesting. So I'm going to save that cut for a little bit later. So from here we've got this. These can stay out. And then I could introduce another element. Maybe a siren. And these open hats. And get rid of these instruments again. And now I can do a cut here. And what I also like to do is, if I've got like counter melodies or I've layered instruments for the hook, then I like to subtly introduce them in the verses. So I won't play them all the way through in the verse, but just now and again I'll bring them in subtly so people kind of know what to expect. It's just like giving people a little teaser before the full thing. So for example, if I bring the keys here, I could maybe cut them here and here. Let's just see how this sounds. Or maybe here. Yeah, that sounds sick. Now the second hi-hat's come in. Just subtle changes, remember. What I also like to do is, when I'm playing things, I'll just try muting things just one by one to see if them breaks sound good. So for example, I might mute the hi-hats. So like there, where the 8/8s are going up, just to add emphasis on them, I can cut out the hi-hats. And even take out the kick. And the snare. You know what, I'll take out the open hats too. And this hi-hat. And then for the last 4 bars before the hook, there's a couple things that you can do. You could either just continue playing it and either take out like 1 or 2 elements, or you could treat it like a bridge and you could take out most things and have it kind of like the intro where it builds back up into the hook and then there's more impact that way. So usually when I'm doing a 16-bar verse, I do like to do that because I just feel like it adds a bit of variation. If you're playing like the same beat for 16 bars, it might just get a little bit repetitive. So I'll show you what I mean. So for this section, I might take out all of these, obviously, because they're for the hook, and then take out a lot of the drums. Take out the sirens and the crash. And now to add a little bit more variation, I'm going to make the 8-weight pattern unique. So I'm just going to click here and click on make unique, and then I'm going to come into it and I'm just going to have the notes play like this. So I'm going to get rid of the slides. Maybe another one there, and just keep that simple pattern going. And then just before the drop, I'm going to bring this last note up, but I'm also going to make it slide down. So I'm going to select it, hold shift and click, and then I'm just going to bring it up an octave, holding control and pressing up. So it's going from A5 to A6, but I want it to slide down. So this bottom one is going to slide. And I'm also going to change the kick pattern to match it. So now you can hear that that last 8-weight note is sliding down, but I think I want to get rid of this last snare. So I'm just going to cut that off. Might even get rid of the kick too. So that sounded sick so far. I might even introduce one more element in the verse as well. Try the crash here again. Yeah, it sounds good. Now just to add a bit more impact, just before the hook, I'm going to label this as well, just so you know what I'm talking about. So on this drop, I like to add things like transitions or reverse crashes, just something to transition it between the verse and the hook. You don't always have to do it. I like to add reverse crashes, so a good go-to technique is to use the same crash. So I've got this crash here. I've got it in a pattern, but if I want to reverse it, I can drag it in from here. So if I come on the crash, that's what it sounds like. But if I bring it into the playlist, I've got a bit more flexibility now. Double click on it and then reverse it. Now if I bring this just on time, that sounds good. All right, so from here, we've done the intro, hook 1, verse 1, and hook 2. If you wanted to, you could just highlight verse 1 and hook 2 and press Control and B to copy, or shift, click and drag, and just have it like exactly the same, or you could add a little bit of variation in the second verse, but I think for this one, I'm just gonna keep it quite simple and just make it the same as the first verse. Again, I'll just label it so you can see. So this is gonna be verse 2. If you're doing 16-bar verses like this, then I just keep it like 2 verses max, just because music doesn't tend to be longer than like 3.5 minutes, especially for drill anyway. But if you were gonna have it like a verse straight away and it was only a 12-bar verse and then a hook, you could maybe do 3 verses then. So right at the end to create an outro, there's a couple of things that you could do. You could just have it finish on like a crash or something like this. Or you could do something like this, and you could copy the hook like twice and then fade it out. Well, I'm gonna take the hi-hats out of this one, and I'm gonna bring the reverse crash up again. And then I'm just gonna fade this part out. So there's 2 ways to fade it out. You can use the tool here, which is just like the master volume, but I like to add fruity balance. So I can just right click on volume, create automation clip, and then I always copy the value here just so it doesn't change, because when I just draw in a point here, you can see it's gradually going down. So I copy that value and then paste it here so that it doesn't change. And now I can just bring this down, and it's up to you how you want to fade it out. Or you could fade it out from this last hook here. So let's just paste it there, and I'm going to bring this up. I'm actually going to take these open hats out as well. And then at this stage, I'd usually go back and listen to the full beat and then decide if I want to add any more cuts or transitions or effects in there. I won't play the full thing here for now, but for example, I know sometimes when I do that 808 drop, when there's a little delay, I like to add a crash. So instead of having the crash here, I might have it here. I think I actually prefer that, so I'll probably keep that. Do the same for the second bit. There we go. So I hope you liked the video and I hope you were feeling the beat. As I said, this one was more for beginners. I am going to do some more advanced tutorials real soon, but I do get a lot of messages from people saying that they're just starting out and they're not really sure how to structure the beats. So hopefully this covered everything. If you've got any questions though, then my DMs are always open on Instagram at JayCactus Music, and I'll see you next time.
JayCactus.